Hello and welcome to Look Beyond Dementia. My name is Bailie. I'm an occupational therapist as well as a dementia specialist. Today I want to talk to you about the reason why I use the phrase look beyond. So why is that? First of all, because I want us to get to the point where we are looking beyond dementia. We're not focusing so much on the disease, but more on the person. So let me give you an example. 10, 15 years ago with cancer, okay, whenever I said cancer, you would probably be fearful, right? It was an unknown. People didn't know a lot about cancer. It was when we got the diagnosis of that, if I went in and the doctor said, Bailie, you've got cancer, I would be devastated, right? It's as if my life had ended at that point. There wasn't much hope. And when I would tell people, hey, I've been diagnosed with cancer, most people would look at you like you had something that they could catch. Hey, we didn't talk about it. We didn't ask questions about it. It was like I'm so sorry. I'm sorry because in my mind you're going to die from it. Okay, the same thing with dementia now. Okay, 10, 15 years ago that's how cancer was, but dementia is still like that today. If I walked up to someone and said, I've got Alzheimer's disease, most people say, oh, I'm so sorry, right? Because they know in their mind that you're going to lose your mind and your life is over. And that's not the case. Because if you look at cancer 10, 15 years ago, it's not the same as it is today. Okay, so whenever I tell someone I've got cancer, their first question is, oh, really, what kind? Okay, and then I can stage it. I can tell you where it's located. And there's hope. Okay, there's hope out there for people who have cancer. And people are going out in October and wearing pink and talking about it. And when you get the diagnosis, it's not that people are running and trying to learn more about the disease and forgetting about you, but yet they're focusing on the individual now and the needs that you have and taking care of you and your family during this time because there's hope that you're going to get better. With dementia now, it's as if we say, oh, we've got dementia, and people start focusing on the disease and how it's going to progress and what stage you're in, and they forget about the individual and their uniqueness. So how are we going to get from where we were 10, 15 years ago with cancer to where we are today with dementia? Okay, how are we going to progress and start looking beyond and stop focusing on the disease as much? There's three things that we're going to cover today. First of all is understanding dementia, okay, whether it's Parkinsons or Lewy bodies or Alzheimer's disease or whatever type of dementia. I'm not saying don't be educated on the dementia that you've been diagnosed with or that your loved one's been diagnosed with. What I'm saying is to not stop there. Secondly, we'll talk about the unique individual. How are we going to remember who that person is through the disease process? And the third thing is we're going to talk about adapting. First of all, understanding dementia. Okay, all dementias are a brain disease. Something in the brain is not triggering or functioning correctly, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's Alzheimer's disease and the shrinkage of the brain, whether it's Lewy bodies or frontal temporal dementia. It's a brain disease. Okay, right now there is not a cure for it, and we are going to get worse if you've gotten the diagnosis of dementia or a type of dementia. It is progressive. Is there things that can slow it down? Absolutely. They have some proven studies on things that you can do to help even prevent Alzheimer's or dementias. But it is a brain disease. So being educated on the type of disease that you have got is incredibly important. And here's how I would suggest that you get educated. First of all, understand the type. Okay, a lot of times the doctors will just say, hey, you've got dementia, or hey, you've got Alzheimer's. My first question, just as if I had gotten cancer, would be, well, what type? Okay, what stage? Where am I in this process? I would push the doctors to get more information. I had a family member the other day talking to me about his mother that just recently got diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And the physician just diagnosed her based off of symptoms. They did no further testing. Now, if I went in and got diagnosed with cancer based off of symptoms, I would be really upset and I would be asking questions. But for this family, it was, oh, we've got Parkinson's? Okay, give us medication. We've got to educate ourselves on what questions are correct to answer when we get these type of diagnoses. It's okay to tell your physician, I want further testing. I want to make sure that you're giving me the right medications for the diagnosis that you've just given me. So whether it's Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or frontal temporal or Lewy bodies or any other type of dementia, I would question and ask, what type, what stage, where am I? Very important information. The next thing that I would do would be to educate yourself. Okay, there's a lot of associations out there, whether it's for Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's or frontal temporal. There are associations that focus specifically on certain diagnoses. So whichever type that you have gotten, I would contact that organization. Alzheimer's Association is not necessarily going to be good for those who've had Parkinson's. So look into the specific diagnosis that you got and follow their website, contact their association for information that they might be able to provide for you. You can also watch videos like this one, okay, getting on YouTube and watching videos of people who've either had the diagnosis or professionals who are posting information about the diagnosis. You can also read websites. Okay, there's a lot of information out on the internet right now about all of these. So if you Google frontal temporal or Lewy body, there's probably not as much information out there as there is Alzheimer's disease. I will tell you that if you put in Google dementia, most of the time Alzheimer's disease is going to pop up because it is the #1 diagnosed type of dementia out there right now. But you can find websites that have a lot of really great information. Find a few reliable resources. Okay, they're not all going to be reliable, right? We all know that. The joke about, well, the internet said it, it's true. Not necessarily. So find some reliable ones. Any journal articles or any professionals that have been checked out and you've heard their name in multiple locations and they're trustworthy. But be very cautious. Okay, be cautious whenever you're learning about the disease. And you know, I tell families all the time, when you get a diagnosis or you think you have a scratch or you know, you got some bumps coming up or you know, a bruise somewhere, don't Google it because you probably will end up having cancer or you know, you're going to be on your deathbed at that point. So be careful and be cautious about the things that you're reading. Don't let it stress you out or start to worry you because one person's experience is one person's experience. It might not be something that you know, are going to experience. So find those reliable sources of information. There are a lot of great educators out there right now, even people who have dementia that are educating on their journey through it. So again, be cautious. Wouldn't it be nice? I love the learn button there, just like the easy button. I would love if we could just push a button and we just learn everything that we need to know about whatever type of disease that you've been diagnosed with. But unfortunately, it's not going to be that easy. So we'll have to navigate through everything. I love this phrase, please remember me. Okay, even I, as a professional, I get caught up in, you know, trying to learn the greatest, latest information, try to help the clients that I work with the best, and I forget that, you know, there's still an individual, and you know, I've gone to a lot of trainings and webinars, but I forget that the person who can teach me vital information is the person sitting right in front of me. So I'm not saying to not educate yourself, but I'm saying that you need to get a few good trustworthy resources, like I said earlier, follow them, ask questions, and then focus on the one you're caring for. So don't just get engulfed in learning and learning and learning and learning and forgetting to focus on the person that's sitting in front of you and asking them questions. One of the individuals who I have heard speak who had dementia said, you know, I want to encourage all of you to remember this. When you meet one person with Alzheimer's or a type of dementia, you've met one person because they're all going to look so different. The disease doesn't have a particular course. It has a similar course, but not the same course for everyone. So everyone's going to present a little bit different. So just because one person ended up where they couldn't communicate or make sentences doesn't mean that the person that you're looking at or you're taking care of is going to be the same way. I would also consider getting a consultant. My sister recently had my nephew and hired something called a doula. Now, it's one of those things that some have strong feelings about getting and some that say it's kind of a waste of time. But my sister and her husband during the process, as their labor continued for a good 50 plus hours, she was able to be there to help educate and walk them through the process. Because, we could probably have Googled what was going on, but it was nice to have someone there who was listening to the physicians, looking at my sister and her specific experience and being able to help her understand and feel safe. So, whenever she went in and had to get the epidural and the person, she was about to sign the paper that said, hey, you could be paralyzed, she looked at the doula and said, okay, is this person going to be good? And the doula looked at her and said, yes, I've worked with him before and he's good. You're going to be fine. So just the aspect of having that relationship and that comfort and having a professional there that is looking at your situation and it's able to understand from experiences that they have had with other people, are able to tell you it's going to be okay, right? Here's what we're going to do next. This is normal. The things that you're seeing are normal. Sometimes it's nice to just hear that it's okay. It's normal. My grandpa recently passed away from Parkinson's disease. And doing what I do, I was able to give my entire family understanding of kind of what was going on. So was it exactly what I had seen before? No, because everyone, again, is different. But as a professional and in seeing multiple instances of this process, I can analyze that and help give a perspective, on how to respect him as a person, and not just blaming the disease during that time. So, we were able to walk through the process, and they felt comforted that, this is the disease process. Okay, there's nothing that the physicians can do at this point. My grandpa, his body got eaten up by Parkinson's. I mean, that honestly is what happened. And he had it for 23 years. That's a long time to have Parkinson's. And being able to sit down with my grandpa and say, listen, it's okay. Like, we need to start talking about, you going on and what that's going to look like. And we want to give you comfort and peace that we're going to take care of my grandmother, and that we're all going to be okay here. But here's where you're going from now. So it was nice to be able to know that we were doing all that we could, because I had been through this before and I knew what it looked like at the end. And so we all had comfort and peace and had that time together to help him move on. And he did, and it was peaceful. And all of us are, we miss him, but we know he's in a better place. So please, please, what I'm telling you is to get help from a few people, but don't overwhelm yourself with trying to find the latest and the greatest and do what's best for the person that you love. And don't care for the disease necessarily, but care for the person that's in front of you. There's a difference. So we'll talk about that. Adapt. Okay, we've got to adapt. Be flexible. Okay, dementia. It's a brain disease. It's going to throw you curveballs. And it's okay. You may get confused at times or even feel lost as the caregiver, not knowing what to do, but it's okay. So take a deep breath and adapt. I'm going to tell you that it's going to be easier for you to learn to adapt to the world that your loved one is in than for you to try to get them to adapt to yours. So whether it's your schedule or what they're saying, that their mom and dad is still alive, but they've been gone for 20 plus years. It's okay for you to get into their world and to stop trying to bring them back into yours, because again, it's a brain disease. You're not going to be able to fix the brain. So how are we going to be flexible? Because for those who are flexible, I love this quote, blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. And if we continue to try to bring them back into our world and correct them and try to make them remember and say, you know, remember I told you, remember, remember. That's going to get them frustrated. It's going to get you frustrated, and you're eventually going to get bent out of shape. So be flexible. You know, I, even as a professional, have things that come up either with families or facilities that I consult with, you know, and I have to take a step back and maybe even admit, wow, you know, this is new for me. I've done a really good job, I feel, at surrounding myself with some amazing, knowledgeable people that I can just pick up the phone and call and say, hey, you know, I have a question, and can you help me navigate this? And it might even take more than one person, because a lot of us, there's things that come up that we haven't seen yet, or things that are changing, but that we can find answers to help families or facilities navigate those behaviors or even the disease process. So my goal, or I would even dare say my passion, is to help guide individuals through the disease process, but more importantly, my heart longs to ensure that we focus on the individual and build on their strengths, learn from them, adapt, and change to balance between meeting their needs as well as our own. I'm not saying give up your career, okay, whenever I say to get into their world. I'm saying we've got to find a balance. Okay, and it's important that we not just focus on the disease, but we start focusing on the individual and help learning from them, not necessarily just learning from people on the internet. You know, it seems simple, and it is. Will there be times that, you know, we need to refocus? Absolutely. Will there be months that we might stray as caregivers from our goals, or maybe put the disease in our forefront of our mind and continually think about dementia instead of thinking about what our loved one might actually need that maybe is different from the people who we've talked to about the disease process? Maybe. You know, I also want to educate the world on how to remember the person and not focus or be fearful of the disease. You know, in a lot of the facilities that I work in, they put the individuals in places they call either the locked unit, okay, or the memory support neighborhood. And that's scary. It's a scary term. You know, I see that volunteers, when they come in, they're like, oh, I'll volunteer everywhere else, but I won't volunteer behind those closed doors. Because if you have to lock someone up, in our mind, it's like a prison, right? When you lock up prisoners, those people have done something bad that could harm someone else. The same thing with dementia. People these days still have they don't understand what it is, and they're fearful of it. You know, and I want to educate the world that it's okay, and there is still a person inside that body that still has feelings and emotions. They still understand a lot of the things that are going on around them, and we as caregivers have got to dive in and try to be the best investigators that we can and figure out what the needs are of the person sitting in front of us. Okay, and yeah, it's great to learn the stages, but don't worry about what stage they're in. Okay, don't worry about what stage. Hey, get to know them. Understand that, you know, they can't get dressed now, or, you know, this thing triggers their behaviors, or, you know, they're not using utensils to eat anymore. Okay, get to know them. Don't push them into a stage. You know, and let's just educate. Let's educate each other. So I'm going to start posting a lot of videos on my YouTube page. I also have a website, lookbeyonddementia.com. So I would love for you to follow me, call me, email me. I would love to support you as your consultant or even just as a friend. So are you with me? Are you with me on making sure that, you know, we start looking at dementia differently? Okay, not as a disease and something that's fearful or terrifying or something that we could catch, but are we ready to look at the person? Okay, and learning about the person and their process and you know, the things that they're dealing with as they go through this, and how can we help them individually, not collectively as, oh, stage 4, what do we need to do? Stage 2, what do we need to do? Okay, stage 6, what do we need to do? But, you know, Bob or Jill or Mary Ann, okay, how are we going to help them through the process? Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Here's my contact information. Again, lookbeyonddementia@gmail.com. The website is lookbeyonddementia.com. My phone number 432-557-8627. Feel free to give me a call, and we can discuss how maybe I could help you, or even resources that I have that could help you navigate through this process. All right. God bless.